Bottom of the hour, we're back on Get Up. And in the NBA, Julius Randle, as you know, is on the move. Earlier this week, we learned Minnesota trading Randle to the Nets just 2 years after acquiring him. The move also raises questions about the future of the Wolves and their superstar, Anthony Edwards. Yesterday on Get Up, Ryan Windhorst shared these thoughts.
Okay, so if you say to me Giannis has now been traded, who would be the next NBA star that you would watch? The answer would be Anthony Edwards. Already, Anthony Edwards has watched Karl Towns, a player he totally fit with on the court, be traded to the Knicks and win a championship. Last summer, they let Nickeil Alexander-Walker go. He goes and wins Most Improved Player down in Atlanta.
And the whole conversation, to be clear, stemmed from the fact that he described the trade of Julius Randle as a pure salary dump, and that maybe there are financial issues in Minnesota, and that could lead to Anthony Edwards, who has taken that team, candidly, as far as they've ever gone, right? I mean, he's had them the last 3 years in what felt like legitimate contention. Could he be unhappy there? Big Perk, you have a definitive answer.
And he's happy, but we can't overlook that Minnesota has a track record of letting number one picks go that they drafted, and they go off other places and win championships.
That's right.
Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Garnett, Karl Anthony Towns, and even a lottery pick like Kevin Love. Okay, so let's put that out there. But Anthony Edwards, that wasn't just a salary dump with Julius Randle. That was getting rid of a toxic environment, meaning Julius Randle was bringing negative energy. Anthony Edwards has belief in Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid. He's rocking with those guys. He wants those guys, and we got to prepare for them to have this lineup going all the way up into the All-Star break, to the trade deadline, excuse me. And if they're not where they're supposed to be, then we can look at them making a trade.
And by making a trade, are you talking about Ant?
No, I'm talking about going and get something
other kinds of deals.
Like a Kyrie Irving. Like a Kyrie Irving.
Huh.
Yeah, if I'm Minnesota, okay, cool. We'll start with this group. I'm monitoring this situation. But by the trade deadline, if I'm not where I want to be, or Anthony Edwards is not happy, you got to go get a guy like Kyrie Irving that's sitting in Dallas.
I just wouldn't overlook a guy like Tim Connelly that put together the building blocks for how Denver got to their championship with Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray. And we'll see what the long-term agreement is with him. But he is the foundation of his coach. I have trust in his ability to find the right pieces to put around Edwards.
Listen, I think every team in the Western Conference right now is in an interesting predicament. Mm-hmm. Do you wave the white flag and just say those two teams at the top are going to be there for the next, 5 to 6, 7 years when you're looking at the Spurs and OKC? Or are you saying we've got to shake things up and do things a little bit different to see if we can close that gap and give ourselves a chance in a 7-game series?
Make no mistake about it, though. Tim Connelly ass is on the hot seat. Let's not act like he didn't make one of the worst trades in NBA history.
You're talking about Towns.
Towns for Julius Randle. He chose Rudy Gobert over Towns. That was when they got to the money. No, Jay Will.
No.
When they got to the money,
I hear you on that.
They said we're going to take Rudy. They didn't want to have Towns and challenge Towns defensively like Mike Brown just did with the New York Knicks.
Don't you think the culture of Jalen Brunson compared to those guys is a different type of leadership? I hear you in the talent.
Anthony Edwards is one of the best young leaders in the game.
I don't know if he has the same kind of leadership tactics that Jalen Brunson does, though.
Well, he's not older.
That's what I'm saying. I think that brought the best out of Karl Anthony Towns.
All this is great, and I think Sean brings up an interesting point. You have these two young teams in that conference that look like they're going to be so good for so long. How do the other teams react to it? I'll never forget, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, when Golden State looked unbeatable with Kevin Durant. A lot of teams waved the white flag, and the Houston Rockets didn't. They went at them. They put together pieces. Daryl Morey, I will forever respect him for doing this. He said, no, we're not sitting this one out. We're going to try. And if they didn't have injuries, they might have beaten that team in the conference final.
I agree. And that's why I said, okay, Anthony Edwards, you got belief in Jaden McDaniels. Right. You got belief in Naz Reid. We're going to give you a chance. But if not, Kyrie Irving is sitting over there in Dallas. You got to start bringing them pieces over in order to compete with those top two dogs in the Western Conference. I agree with the both of them.
Okay, so we're going to we have a lot more basketball to get to here.
I never would think that you would.
Including Big Perk's big take on are still fielding trade offers on Jaylen Brown in the aftermath of their inability to trade him for Milwaukee or to Milwaukee for Giannis. So as I mentioned, after round one was done last night, Brad Stevens, who runs that team, was asked if Jaylen Brown is going to be on the team next season, and here's what he said.
Dub Nation, let me ask you something that sounds absolutely outrageous until you really picture it on a basketball court for 5 seconds. What happens if Anthony Edwards ever lands in a Warriors jersey next to Stephen Curry? Seriously, stop and see that in your head. Steph flying around screens, Ant attacking downhill like a missile, defenses scrambling, the entire West looking up and realizing Golden State did not just reload, they just changed the temperature of the league. Because that kind of pairing would not just make headlines, it would make contenders nervous, it would make coaches lose sleep, it would make the whole NBA feel exposed. And yes, let's keep this clean and honest from the jump. Anthony Edwards to the Warriors is not done, not official, not confirmed. But when a superstar that young is even loosely mentioned in Future Watch conversations, every big market contender with a win-now core gets dragged into the imagination, and Golden State is always going to be one of those teams. Now here is why this conversation even has juice. Reuters reported this spring that Anthony Edwards was having the best scoring season of his career, averaging 29.5 points per game before missing time with right knee inflammation, and he has already made 4 straight All-Star teams. Reuters also reported the Timberwolves moved Julius Randle in a 3-team deal this week, which naturally put more focus on Minnesota's roster direction around Edwards. At the same time, another Reuters report said the Warriors finished 37-45, missed the playoffs, and still kept Steve Kerr on a new 2-year deal, which tells you Golden State is not walking away from the Steph timeline. They still think this thing can be revived with the right swing. And that is where Anthony Edwards becomes the kind of name that sets the imagination on fire, because the Warriors do not need another nice player. They need force. They need athletic violence. They need someone who can go get a bucket when the game gets muddy, when the spacing tightens up, when the threes stop falling, when Steph is trapped 30 feet from the rim and the defense is daring someone else to break the game open. Ant is that guy. He is not just a scorer, he is pressure, he is lift, he is swagger. He is the kind of star who can hit a defense in the chest, possession after possession. Put that next to Steph Curry's gravity, and suddenly every coverage starts looking wrong. Trap Steph, and Ant is coming downhill into chaos. Load up on Ant, and Steph is relocating into open air. That is not just good offense, that is destroy the West offense. That is nightmare for the league offense. And let's talk about the fit in a real way, because this is where Warriors fans would completely lose their minds. Anthony Edwards gives Golden State something it has badly needed in the late Steph era, a true, explosive perimeter alpha who can create his own offense without needing the whole playbook to rescue him. Steph would not have to carry every hard possession. Draymond would not have to solve every scramble. Jimmy Butler, who is already on the Warriors roster according to the team site, would not have to be the only physical wing presence in the room. The official Warriors roster right now still centers around Steph, Jimmy Butler III, and Draymond Green, and that is exactly why a young superstar wing like Edwards would feel so massive. He would not just extend the window, he would blast it open again. Now, to be fair, there is a reason this is still more dream scenario than likely outcome. The Wolves are not acting like a team ready to give up Anthony Edwards. Reuters has recently described strong chemistry between Edwards and new Timberwolves guard Ayo Dosunmu, and the reporting around Minnesota still frames Edwards as the centerpiece, not a guy on the edge of the exit door. So nobody should pretend Golden State is one phone call away from landing him. That would be fake, that would be lazy, that would be selling fantasy as fact. But what is real is this: when a franchise around a superstar starts changing pieces, moving money, and trying to rework the roster, the league watches. And the Warriors, because of Steph and because of their urgency, would absolutely be one of the teams watching the hardest if there were ever any crack in that door. And here is the league-wide impact if that crack ever opened. Oklahoma City has depth and discipline. San Antonio has size and long-term terror potential. Denver still has Jokic, but Anthony Edwards with Golden State would hit the conference in a completely different way. That would be elite shot creation, elite pressure, elite star gravity, and championship infrastructure all smashed together. That is why people would say they could destroy the league, expose the league, and become a nightmare for the league. Because from a pure basketball perspective, the blend is terrifying. Steph gives you the greatest off-ball gravity ever, and gives you one of the most explosive young engines in the sport. The math gets ugly for everybody else real fast. So here is my final take, loud and clear and completely favorable to the Warriors. Anthony Edwards to Golden State is not a current done deal, and nobody should talk like it is. But if Minnesota ever gave even the slightest signal that its future around Ant was unstable, the Warriors should be aggressive immediately, because superstar wings in their prime almost never hit your timeline at the exact moment you still have Stephen Curry. Dub Nation, I need your real answer in the comments. If the Warriors somehow had a true shot at Anthony Edwards, would you go all in without even blinking? Hit like, subscribe, and tell me if Steph and Ant would destroy the West together.